Today's episode is brought to you by Rootless Coffee Company. Rootless is a small batch roaster out of Flint, Michigan, making high-end coffee with bags designed by some of the comic industry's rising stars. Collaborating with artists, bands, brands, nonprofits, wrestlers, comedians, and more, Rootless is the punk rock gateway to craft coffee. Easy to understand and delicious roast options. Listeners get 20% off their order using the code HARDTIMES at checkout when you visit rootlesscoffee.com. Any size, any grind, anytime. Break free from boring. Welcome to the first ever podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Bohm. If this is your first time here, this is a show where I ask artists of all kinds about the first experiences in their art form that led them to where they are today. My guest this week is Alex Lichtenauer of Get Better Records, also plays drums in a band called Control Top. I adore Alex. I was excited to talk to them. We became friends a couple years ago, and this one's been on the books for a while. We recorded this interview quite a few weeks ago. I'm excited that it is finally coming out now. But before we get to Alex, let's talk about my friends over at Discovered Magazine. Discovered is an international print counterculture magazine encompassing the best of music, art, skateboarding, and anything with a punk ethos. You can get 10% off a yearly subscription using the code FIRSTEVER, spell that out, when you go to store.dscvrd.co. They have a brand new issue with Quicksand on the cover. I don't know if you know this, but they also do limited pressings of records. So for instance, right now there is a limited to 300 copy of the new Drug Church album called Hygiene, which you can pre-order now over on their store. Support Discovered. Awesome, awesome magazine, awesome people. And I also want to throw out there, if you want to subscribe to my Patreon, support the show, it would really mean a lot. You could start at $3 if you just want to, throw us a bone, get some bonus content. You'll get extra radio hour episodes, and you'll get to hear all the extra content that we're providing, as well as so much more that we are doing over on that site. And there's also a $7 and $10 tier, which includes being able to submit questions to upcoming guests, and also a physical gift that you'll get twice a year. So yeah, hit up patreon.com/thefirsteverpatreon. And lastly, if you have not subscribed to the show on Apple or Spotify or wherever you're enjoying this, please do that. It helps the show a whole lot, and maybe it keeps you coming back. I don't know. If you haven't rated or reviewed the show on Apple, that would really mean a lot to me as well. Okay, without further ado, here is my conversation with Alex Lichtenauer. Alex, it's nice to see you. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, nice rainy day here in Philly, but doing pretty good.
I'm so jealous. We've had just such a hot streak here. It just fall in California doesn't really exist until kind of like December. So
yeah,
it's weird.
I remember one time I was in LA and someone was like, it kind of sucks that every day is sunny because then you feel like you have some obligation to like be outside and do something. Like I miss like having some rain or some clouds to like have an excuse, like, a superficial excuse to like stay inside or whatever.
No, it's completely real. It's funny. I've never thought about it that way, but that's an extremely legitimate thing to say. Because the rest of the country, let alone, I think kind of the world looks to California as like, oh yeah, wonderful weather every single day. You do sort of feel guilty when you just sort of stay inside and work or stay inside and just watch movies all day because you're like, I guess I'm supposed to go outside.
Except when there's like fires everywhere and there's smoke in the sky, smoke in the air.
Yeah, that's think it's wild because I know this year has obviously been pretty bad for that stuff here in California, as always, but it hasn't been as bad, at least in this area, which I'm pretty thankful for. It's always so heartbreaking when it happens, but
Yeah.
of all the things that have been, obviously going wrong in the world, especially specifically in this last year, I was almost expecting just my entire city to just be on fire the whole time, to be like, yeah, let's just add to this. Let's just add to it,
Yeah, I was even like, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that's going on, like environmentally, for me, like I was talking to someone the other day about it, and I was like, it's easy for me to just blame everything on COVID, but then I was like, wait a second. Climate change and fires have nothing to do with COVID. I was just like, my brain was so used to like worst case scenario for everything that it's just like,
right.
Oh yeah, it makes sense that the earth is on fire because it's COVID. But it was just like,
right.
That's decades of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. COVID feels like the ultimate boogeyman right now for like just everything is COVID's fault. But I'm sure if we try hard enough, we could figure out a way it's COVID's fault.
Yeah, definitely.
So are you still doing the acupuncture stuff right now?
I am. Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So right now I work pretty much three half days a week. It's just like Monday, Tuesday mornings, Friday nights. And my goal is by the end of the year to quit. It's funny too, because, I graduated maybe like 3 years ago from acupuncture school. Had no real intention of working. I mean, I did when I was in school, but then like I started doing music stuff more seriously and I was touring a lot. So I was like, well, how can I possibly juggle these two? And then COVID happened. And then I was like, oh shit, like I need to like work. So I actually got my first and only acupuncture job in June of 2020. So I like started in the thick of the pandemic, and it's just been like a wild experience kind of navigating both like safety, working in a new field, and also like all the COVID safety guidelines, and like my boss being weird about stuff. And like, it was very, very interesting. It's still interesting to like be working in like that type of like healthcare field right now. It's not a hospital, it's not an urgent care, but it's still like a somewhat medical facility, and working during pandemic has been so bizarre.
Yeah, let me ask, what brought you to want to study acupuncture? It's a field that I've always found pretty fascinating. I've never done it myself. I'm open to it, but I'm just curious what brought you to it.
Yeah, I hurt my ankle really bad skateboarding when I was in high school. Like sprained it so bad I couldn't walk. And then a family friend was an acupuncturist, so I went to him, and it kind of just fixed my pain pretty instantaneously. And I always kind of had it in the back of my brain, and I was the worst student. I did so bad in school. I didn't want to be there. I just like hated it. So I was like, I never thought I was like smart enough to like go to acupuncture school or like could ever do it. And then I was kind of actually giving up music for a while in like 2014 or something. I was like, I need to do something new in my life. And I just randomly applied to a school, and I got in, and I was like, well, I guess this is my new path that I'm going to go on. And it was like a 4-5 year journey. But yeah, it just kind of, I've always been interested in like alternative medicine and herbs and kind of health stuff. And just kind of fell into it, then fell out of it, then fell back into it. And now I'm kind of like trying to navigate music, label, acupuncture all at the same time, which is kind of cool, but also just like, whoa, like I feel like my eggs are in so many different baskets right now. It's hard to like stay focused.
I'm sure it's nice to have an avenue that is not, punk related in any capacity, where it's like a whole different side of your brain to just put to use. And also it's like helping people in such a different way, as much as obviously music has, especially in this last year, has helped people so much. But it's nice to have a different avenue that actually like physically helps people on a 3-day-a-week basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like my clinic's very heavily focused on like fertility, which I'm just like not interested in. Like I like treating, anxiety, depression, stuff like that, and physical and mental pain, emotional pain. So I end up seeing a lot of these patients where I'm like, all right, like I feel like I'm going through the motions sometimes, but then I have a patient comes in, then I'm like, oh, like I really connect with you. This is amazing. I love doing this. And it's also been kind of funny because I work Fridays, like in the evening, which is the day that records come out.
Oh,
so
no.
like tomorrow, for instance, we have like an EP coming out for a band and I have to work at night. So it's like my brain is just like going all day from the second I wake up to like promoting the record to like then being at work where I can't really be on my phone as much, being with patients where I'm like, oh my God, like I'm doing like two extreme things at once.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot to take on. Last question I want to ask about the acupuncture is, you sort of mentioned a few of the things that it helps. Is there anything that you were surprised by, that it's able to help?
Interesting.
Because like, again, I only know it as what we've seen in movies and TV and that sort of thing. And you mentioned it helped your ankle, but then a moment ago you mentioned it helps like, anxiety and things like that. Was that, I mean, even just the fact that it helps anxiety, was that something that surprised you when you started working with it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one example is I whenever I get the hiccups, I get barking hiccups where it's just like in high school I got kicked out of class because my hiccups were so loud. My teacher was just like,
oh, that's not fair.
You're being too disruptive to the class. Your hiccups are too loud. So a couple months ago I had the hiccups so bad. They just, for hours and hours, I could not get them to go away. And then I got an acupuncture treatment, and within 5 minutes, they were completely gone. Completely gone and didn't come back.
Wow.
So it was that to me, I'm just like, okay, this actually works. And
let me ask, where for the hiccups, where did the pins go?
Kind of in my chest, in my stomach, in my hands and feet.
Okay.
Kind of in the diaphragm area. I was laying face up. So yeah, in the stomach and chest area.
Wow.
Yeah, so that to me, and this was last year, maybe even earlier this year, after having been around acupuncture for 6 or 7 years at this point, I'm still blown away that it works so quickly and just,
I'm also just imagining how stressful it might have been to put the pins in as you're your body's got to jump in a little bit.
Where it's gonna puncture an organ or something.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so cool. When I knew I was going to talk with you, I had that in the back of my brain, being like, oh, I know you do that. So I've always been super curious about it. And maybe one day I'll give it a shot. It's it couldn't hurt. That's for sure.
Yeah. Most people, when they think of it, they think of actually, I don't know what people think anymore, really. But it's a lot of back and neck pain. That's the primary reason people come in is for pain, but and that stuff's kind of easier to treat. So it's very satisfying to treat it, and it builds up your confidence. But yeah, a lot of mental, emotional stuff, I think it does amazing things for that. It can help heal trauma, whether it's physical or emotional trauma. So it can get pretty deep, and people have I've definitely had emotional reactions and responses to it where I'm just the next day I'm just crying for no reason. I'm just whoa, that was a release that was definitely from the treatment because I wasn't feeling this way before it. So yeah.
Right.
But
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you're from Baltimore originally, right?
I am.
When did you move out of Baltimore?
I moved out of Baltimore in 2009 when I was 19. And
okay, so you're born and raised there.
Yep.
And then you moved, was it to New Hampshire that you moved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. I did my undergrad in New Hampshire in a very, very small town called Keene, which it's right next to Vermont, Brattleboro area, western New Hampshire.
Was it the school that brought you there, or were you looking for kind of a more scenic sort of escape from Baltimore?
I was just trying to get away. Yeah, because... Yeah, my parents kind of had a hold on me when I was a kid. And I actually applied to colleges behind their back because they were you're not ready to leave. Largely because my grades were just so bad, and they just didn't think I was ready to move out of their house. And I was like, I'm ready. I need to leave. And, you all saying this to me makes me want to leave even more. So I did a year of community college at home because they kind of like were like, we're not letting you leave the house. It was like a very weird situation. So I was like, what's the furthest way I can go that's not like the other side of the country? And for some reason, I really liked winter at that time. I was like really into like the snow and the mountains. So I just it was pretty random, to be honest. I just like found this school. I was like the only one in the school that was even from Maryland. Everyone was from like New England because it was a 5,000 kid, very small school in Western New Hampshire. So it was very weird that I even went there. But actually, I loved it. I really, really loved it, and I still have like a bunch of friends that I still talk to from there. And
and what did you take when you went there? Was that for acupuncture, or what did you take?
So I actually majored in sustainable product design and innovation. So it was kind of like engineering without all the math. It was kind of like
sweet
designing sustainable products, like kind of like engineering, but it wasn't like all the calculus or whatever you need to do for engineering. It was like designing like solar ovens and like working in like SolidWorks and CAD, which is like the computer program to like design stuff, which I was awful at, but I ended up not really even liking it. And then I wanted to build drums. I wanted to like build drum sets, which never happened, but it was interesting experience.
Right on. So, okay, I mean, that's a good segue because, as much as I think a lot of people know you for doing Get Better Records, but obviously you're a drummer as well. When did you first like connect with music as a young person? Like, what was the first thing that you kind of felt like was yours?
I've kind of I can't remember not ever being interested in music. I always had this like weird obsession and fascination with drums. If I would like get a CD, I would just like, if there was a picture of a drum set in like the liner notes of the CD, I would just stare at it and just think how cool it was. Being like 6 or 7 or whatever, like super young. But the first CD or like a band that I ever really fell in love with was Rancid and Out Come the Wolves. I remember getting that CD for like Hanukkah or something and was like, oh my God, it made me like feel something. And that was, Rancid I think is the band that like changed everything for me.
Yeah. Oh, that record, that was a record that you just could not escape. It's and to this day, it's still, so timeless feeling.
Yeah.
I remember finding out later, which is probably the most common knowledge thing ever, but the whole why it's called an Out Come the Wolves thing, like how every major label was trying to sign them.
Yeah.
And just I just think that's the coolest.
It's so cool.
Hardest name. Yeah. It's definitely just punk as hell. Did you get to see them ever as a young person or now?
I've still never seen them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, like I've never seen Rancid. I've never seen Green Day. Like 2 of my favorite bands ever, I've for some reason just never seen.
To be honest, I mean, I hadn't seen them either. We played a festival just a couple years ago where they were the 2 headliners on it. I just told this story recently on another episode, but
I listened to that yesterday.
Oh yeah, with Barry, I talked about it. Yeah, and like watching Trey Cole set up his drums, I was like, it's the coolest thing ever. And then there was also, I didn't say this, but I looked over at 1 second and Billy Joe Armstrong was standing right next to me. He had like his hood up and was just trying to be kind of inconspicuous. And I was like, oh, I'm going to say something to him. Like, I'm just going to, tell him thanks or whatever. And, but as I was about to do it, I realized right to the right of him was like a 7 foot tall, very big person who was, kind of pushing people like me to not bother him. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to, but I did say, thank you to Trey Cole. And he was very sweet and did a nice firm handshake. And I was just like, oh, but yeah, it was a trip. It was fun watching Rancid too, because how little it seems that Tim Armstrong plays guitar, but he wears it so cool that you're like, it's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter that he's not playing it because he just like, it's like hanging by his knees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like, super cool. Yeah, no, totally. What was the first concert you went to?
I was trying to think of all these questions, these answers yesterday when I was thinking about what you would probably ask me, and I can't remember. Okay, yes. The first, like, official concert I ever went to, in Baltimore, there's this radio station. It was called, like, HFS or something like that, and they had a festival called HF Festival. And I was in middle school, and I think one of my friend's dads worked for the radio station and got us all tickets. And it was like the Foo Fighters, Coldplay, Good Charlotte, Billy Idol, New York Dolls. It was like a big, like, at the stadium, in Baltimore. That was probably the first, like, official concert I ever went to.
Yeah. Was it like, because here in LA, K-Rock will have, like, our big station here will have, like, the Almost Acoustic Christmas or whatever. And it has just, like, a rotating stage where, like, because you just mentioned, obviously, all major big selling bands. Did they do a thing where it was like, Foo Fighters plays for 20 minutes and then the stage rotates and then the next person plays for 20 minutes kind of a thing? Or was it like,
no, it was
full
like
sets from all,
yeah,
full sets?
It was like full sets, but there was a stage outside of the stadium where, like, Good Charlotte played and and they were one of the smaller bands that played, and this was like peak Good Charlotte,
Wow.
And I remember my friends wanted to leave before the Foo Fighters, which was, like, I was so mad about. I had to sit through Coldplay, and I didn't even get to see the Foo Fighters at the end of it. I think Garbage played too. It was wild. It was really wild.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, I think, the first big concert I went to. Other than that, it was mostly just, like, DIY shows. Like, I haven't been to that many stadium shows. It's always kind of been, like, smaller shows. So, like, that big festival, it was really fun. It was a great experience. But, like, it was just, like, all that stuff's, like, overwhelming to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. When did you start playing drums? Was that your first instrument?
Yep. It's the only thing I play. I started playing, I got my first drum set when I was, like, 12. But my parents wouldn't let me get cymbals, so I just, like, was playing the drum. It was so weird. And I eventually talked them into getting me some cymbals. And then, yeah.
Did you have a hi-hat?
I did. No, at first, no. It was just, like, snare, bass drum, and, rack and
like
floor tom. That's it.
Yeah.
And I was, like, in the basement, like, locked in a small, this tiny little room with, no cymbals until they eventually, like, were like, this is, like, impractical to not have any cymbals.
So did a lot of, like, the early stuff you were playing, was it a lot of, like, just, like, using the floor tom as a hi-hat, like the
yeah, or, like, the rim of the snare or something like that. But before that, I would, like, it sounds so cliche, but it's true, I would, like, set up pots and pans in my mom's, and just, like, hit them, tape, like, a stick with, like, the pan lid as the cymbal. And then eventually,
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like not having hi-hats and not having cymbals has that affected the way you approach playing certain, like, when you're writing drum parts? Like, do you find yourself, I guess, thinking differently than how a normal drummer would, because that's sort of programmed in you to where that's where you started? Like, do you find yourself doing a lot more stuff with toms than you maybe would have had you had all the cymbals and stuff originally?
I don't know. I don't think I didn't have cymbals long enough to really have that big of an impact, but I do, as a drummer now, really like toms, and I really like using toms a lot. So I don't know if it's because of that or just because that's what I like now or what, but it probably maybe like a couple months that I didn't have cymbals at a very early age when I was just hitting, you know what I mean? Like, not, like, really knowing what I was doing. So yeah, that's a good question, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Do you remember the first song that you learned how to play? Like, that you could, like, play along to?
I do. It was either, like, Seven Nation Army or Blitzkrieg Bop, and that's only because my first show was at my friend's bar mitzvah, where we played those two songs and Wild Thing. So, like, at one of those three songs was the first song that I learned how to play.
Yeah. As we just mentioned the Barry interview, that was, Seven Nation Army, he said, was, like, one of the first songs he learned how to play on guitar. And I never thought about how that song sort of became the next generation first song for a lot of people. I think it was like Anthony Green from Circa, maybe, who I interviewed, who referenced that as like, yeah, now kids these days are learning that. And I was like, whoa, I because I'm a bit older than you. And, for me, it was always like, Smells Like Teen Spirit or like Come As You Are or something like that,
Yeah.
But it's interesting that, I could totally hear it though. 'Cause Seven Nation Army, it's like, it's so basic, but it's such a ripper of a riff too.
Yeah, and as a drummer, it was just like so like steady and easy to learn how to play. As like a first one of 3 songs I learned, it was just like really, really easy. And same with Wild Thing, just like a super easy, straightforward song, that I could learn when I was like 12 or 13 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So when did you start a first band? When did that start?
When I was 12.
Really?
Yeah. I was really fortunate because my best friend and his best friend, we all played music, and we kind of just like all met and started a band. And our bass player's mom was a music teacher at like the local school, so she had like all the equipment set up in their house. We would just go to her house or like in her like music room in their house, and just we had everything available to us to play. And even like that's where we recorded all of our first demos, because she had recording stuff set up. And it's really funny now, actually, not to go back to the Foo Fighters and Nirvana, but my friend's dad, Ian, he's a foot doctor, and he is Dave Grohl's foot doctor. And I don't know if you remember when Dave was in like the big like Throne.
A cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lou Schoen did the surgery on him, and they've like become family friends through that. And like he went on stage at like Wrigley Stadium a couple years ago and sang some song. It might have actually been Seven Nation Army, now that I think of it.
Oh my God.
Whoa, that's too many coincidences at once.
Yeah.
But
wow.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit. Foot doctor is podiatrist?
Yeah, podiatrist. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's cool. That's cool flex. Be like, yeah, I'm Dave Grohl's podiatrist.
Right. He's like the nerdiest Jewish guy ever. It's like it's so funny.
I love that. I've had the utmost honor to have met Dave Grohl twice, which is crazy. Yeah, a long time ago too. Through like, I was working at a record store, and one of the employees there was a radio DJ on the big hip hop station, but he had like a midnight rock and hip hop station or show. I mean, so he played both, and he was always really good friends with like Queens of the Stone Age. Like if you ever saw the Tenacious D movie, The Pick of Destiny, there's like a scene it's like a house party scene, and like Kyle Gass goes to the house party. It's what I forget what happens in the scene, but anyway, there's a DJ, and there's like a funny bit part where like he stops and like Kyle Gass says something, and then like he comes back on, like that's C-, like this friend that I worked at a record store with. And so he like DJ'd in between bands for like a Weezer Foo Fighters tour. And so he brought a friend and I out, and he introduced us to Dave Grohl like in a very like private little backstage room, and I was just like freaking out because Nirvana is like, still my all-time favorite band, but I just like couldn't believe it. And he was so nice, like so polite. And then when his radio show ended up having his last show, like the show got canceled, he brought Dave Grohl down to the studio. Then he invited everyone from the record store to come hang out, and like he was there again. Obviously, he didn't remember me. I would never expect him to, but he was just once again just the most polite person ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. I still just like couldn't believe it. He was just so like, especially that second time, because I saw, I walk in, I see he's like on the air or whatever. They go to commercial, and then I walk in and C- like reintroduces me or whatever. And in my brain, I was like, I just met Dave Grohl. Like, I don't want to take up space. Like, I'm good. He was super nice. And I was like, so they went back on air. Once they went back to commercial again, I popped in. I said, "Hey, Chris, I'm going to take off. Like, have a good rest of your show." And Dave Grohl stops conversation to who he was talking to at the moment and looks at me and goes, "Jeremy, you're leaving already?" And I was just like, could not believe that. Like, the fact that he retained what my name was, I was just like,
can't handle this.
Yeah, I was like, oh my! And then I just fumbled on my words. I was like, yeah, I have to work in the. I'm sorry, but it was very nice to meet you.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was the coolest thing. It was just the coolest thing. Man. So when what by the way, what was the name of that band that you were in?
That band was called the Skanarchists.
This nice
with the capital
nice.
SKA.
Of course. So it was a ska band.
Yeah, it was like a ska core band. We didn't have any. Actually, no. Our bass player Ian played a trumpet sometimes, but it was just like a 3-piece that we sometimes had Ian play horn instead of bass. So yeah, a ska band.
Were you listening to? Was it like Leftover Crack style or or more?
Very much in a Leftover Crack, like Streetlight Manifesto, but without all the horns. We were like a fast punk band that with Leftover Crack, Choking Victim style for sure.
Yeah, and how long did that band last?
A really long time. So we started when we were like 12 and disbanded probably when both of them moved away. Like for like 6 years maybe we were a band.
Wow.
Which is a long time when you're like
totally
it's still a long time now, but yeah, like very like formative years. And I just remember being so heartbroken when they both moved away. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like my band is like that's like all I cared about, But they're like, we're going.
Are you still in touch?
Yeah. Ian actually lives in Philly now, and
okay, great.
Just remember that he texted me yesterday. I didn't respond to him, but actually I haven't seen him since just because like pandemic stuff. But
sure.
Yeah, he lives in Philly, and the other person lives on the West Coast, and we're not as close anymore. But yeah, they're both not in music really anymore at all. But yeah,
I mean those like formative music years are so special, where even if you drift apart on a lot of different levels, like seeing those people is always it always kind of has a feeling of home a little bit, where you're like, oh, remember this thing that we did, or remember this weird show that we played? Yeah. Do you remember what the first show you played was?
Well, the first, I don't know if you want to call the bar mitzvah the first show.
The bar mitzvah show, yeah. That's right.
And then the second show is my bar mitzvah.
Amazing.
And then the first show we probably played was in Pikesville, Maryland. There's like a teen center, and it was like in the basement of like a Staples or something, but like kind of separate. Ian's brother would set up shows there, and we played some show. I don't remember exactly who played or what it was, but I assume that it was either like at that teen center or some like JCC that we played shows at. But the first big show we played was we opened for Avail. Before I didn't even know who they were. Ian's brother's band dropped off and was like, "Hey, do you all want to play?" And we were like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And it was at the Auto Bar in Baltimore, which is like the first stage we ever played on. And we were like...
For sound check, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we were like 16 or 15 or 16 years old and just like playing with Avail. It was Avail, Pink Razors, and The Draft.
Whoa. Man, Pink Razors, that brought me back. I have not thought about that.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, they're great. Great Richmond band.
That band was cool. Yeah, they put out, 2 records?
Two that I know of, yeah, maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really cool.
And how did it go?
It was really fun. No one cared about us. They were all there to see Avail, who hadn't played, I think, in a long time at that point. But they were like so nice. I remember Tim Barry was like he was excited that we were playing because I think we were the same age as his kids or something. And he was like saying how cool it was that we were like 15 or 16 years old. Like our parents drove us there. It was a really fun experience. Like I think I got out of school early that day to play or something. Yeah, nice. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean that's such a different experience than in playing your friends or your like bar mitzvah, because you're like the pressure's on because you're with your family and you're with your close friends who are there for that. But like, right. But there's like not the like playing to strangers element that comes when playing like the basement of a Staples or the Auto Bar or something like that. Yeah. Do you remember having a different feeling between those kinds of shows where all of a sudden you're having to perform to strangers?
I feel like I was almost more nervous to play for all my family.
Makes sense.
I was also like, I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was like wearing a suit. I was like on this, in front of like all these like formally dressed people. It just like felt so weird. Yeah, I think I was like, these are strangers, like whatever, I don't care. Also, I think I was just like, my adrenaline was just going the whole time. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just like focusing on just getting through it. But
how was your tempo for
awful.
that? Because yeah, like I know that's the thing with a lot of drummers where once the nerves hit, you're like, well, I'm playing this song 3 times faster than it should be.
Oh, I still do that. That's why I play to a click. Otherwise, there's no way I wouldn't do it.
Wow, so you play to a click live for
I
like
do.
Control Top?
Yep. Yeah, that like
Nice.
changed my life and my bandmates' life when I started playing to a click. I don't think I'll ever play without it.
So do you just have like, do you just do like big headphones, or do you do like in-ears, or what do you do?
I have in-ears that are only the click. Like right now, I don't like have any like bass or vocals or anything. It's just
Sure.
a click. And like our guitar player has all these like wild synthesizer pedals and like loops and stuff. So it's all connected through his channel, and I just have like a start, play, next track thing. So it's fairly basic for now, but we're like working on how to make it just a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also have some tracks where like the bass is looped to the click, so I have to be on the click, or else it would just, we'd be way off time.
Yeah. Did that take you a while to get used to playing to?
At first, yeah. I also play to 16th notes, which is weird. Like my click is 16ths instead of just like quarter notes.
Yeah.
And I think it took me a while to realize that quarter notes don't work for me. I have to play to 16th notes. So I think once I got to 16th notes, like figuring that part out, it was like a pretty easy transition. And I like seriously like absolutely love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it so much because I just like don't get as tired because I'm not like fighting with myself to find the tempo. We're just like fighting with the song. I'm just like, I almost don't even hear it anymore. I'm just like chilling, and it's like in the back of my mind the click is going, and it's just like muscle memory. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's also just like a really handy tool to be able to turn on and turn off to do something like that.
Yeah, especially like because a lot of our songs have loops and just like bass. That's just like just loop the whole song and like vocal loops and stuff like that. So it just like takes the anxiety off of having to just like be spot on the whole song, which I don't think I could even do anyway.
Yeah, sure. Did you do many bands post the ska band to Control Top?
Oh yeah, a bunch.
A bunch, yeah. What was like some of the bands that started once your friends moved away?
After that, I was in a band called Wild and Crazy Kids,
Nice.
and that was like a Baltimore band. And then I was in a band called Cringe, which is like a hardcore band from Baltimore. And then when I moved to New Hampshire, I was in like I got really into folk punk when I moved up to New Hampshire.
That was certainly a wave for a while.
Oh my God, I was like. That was my shit. That was my shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Who are your bands?
Like Defiance, Ohio, I loved.
Yep.
This Bike is a Pipe Bomb, like Against Me, those types of bands.
I was trying to think of some more. Ghost Mice. That was
Ghost Mice. I like them.
Fake Problems for a bit.
Yeah, Fake Problems. That's right.
Yeah, that was certainly. I mean, you couldn't escape it. I loved so much of that stuff too. It was so good. I really no band I really liked that I think that are still together was Nana Grizzle.
Oh yeah, yep. They put out a record I think just last year.
Pretty recently, yeah. That first record though,
so good. Love it.
Jesus.
I think it's called.
Yeah. Oh my God, I remember Elliot from my band played that for me because I didn't even know that band had existed. Like I liked Neutral Milk Hotel and I liked Defiance, Ohio for a bit, and then. Yeah, I didn't know that there was this band where they came together, and I was like, "Oh my God!" It's so hooky, it's so catchy, good lyrics, just everything.
So good. Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah. So did you play in? You played in like a folk punk band?
I did when I was in New Hampshire. Yeah, and then I kind of gravitated towards. After New Hampshire, I moved to South Carolina.
Wow, you've been all over.
I've been all over the East Coast. Yeah. And I was in a band there called Rubrics.
Okay.
And we were kind of like a crusty hardcore band, very influenced by like early Propagandhi. It's like fast political band. And then we toured a lot. We really went hard touring with that band. And then the people in that band were pretty fucked up. So I ended up leaving that band. And that's when I started acupuncture school. I was just kind of made me want to quit music because they were just so it was a married couple. Yeah, we don't have to get into it, but it was a bad situation. Sure. And I just, I was like, all right, maybe music is just done for me. Like, I feel like I've done a lot of touring. I don't necessarily need to do this again. I stopped playing drums for a year. Was ready to just give it up, and started acupuncture school in Asheville, North Carolina. Stayed there for just 8 months or something. I did one semester there, and then I transferred up to a school here in Philly, and that's where I've been since 2015. Okay.
And do you feel like Philly is home?
For now. Yeah. I always, as you and I have talked about, I'm always kind of all right, LA.
Yeah. But I remember when we got to know each other on that tour, I feel like we talked about how you want to come out west down the line. It's still on your horizon at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll always be on my horizon until it happens, until I'm there,
Yeah. Totally. Is it California you want, or are you interested in the Northwest?
It's California. It's LA. I always hated LA until I dated someone that lived there for a couple of years. So I would go there almost once a month for a couple of years, or every other month. And I just realized that I hated the touristy aspect of it. But
100%.
Because you'd go there on tour. You're there for a day. You play a shitty show. A super DIY show where 10 people show up. You're LA sucks. No one cares about us. It's pretty, but there's traffic. It's gross.
Yep.
But then you go there and you stay there. And you're kind of more so living there. At someone's house or whatever. And it's just complete opposite experience. And I truly just fell in love with it.
Yeah, whenever someone tells me, so I feel like maybe LA and New York has this the most, where people feel the need to let you know that they hate where you live. It's I fucking hate New York. I fucking hate LA. But I rarely defend it because a lot of aspects, I'm I get it. It's not worth getting into it, whatever. But a lot of people's first experiences here are kind of what you described, where it's they want to see all the touristy stuff. So, of course, you're going to deal with the worst traffic ever because you're going to the most traffic-y places possible. Also, find me a major city that doesn't have terrible traffic.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we just kind of got known for it. But it's I promise you, San Francisco has worse traffic than us. It's crazy.
New York. It's it's terrible.
It's congested as fuck. So yeah, but what I tell people is don't come here for 2 days. Try to come for a week. Stay to the more just chilled out areas. I promise you'll have the best time because we have great food, great entertainment. Just and also people are, I think LA is known for having pretty shitty people too, which I can only defend so much. But it's the way I've looked at it is 40% of the people who live here are from here, and they're trying to quote unquote make it, and it's not working out. And so they're kind of just bitter about it, and they're taking it out on random people. And then there's 40% of people who moved here trying to make it, and it's not working out, and they're mad and they feel entitled because they live here. So that 80% are just clashing. But then there's this extra percent that's left. That's a mix of both, that are just keeping their head down, being nice, working hard. And those are the people you need to find and connect to, because those are the best people you're going to find.
Yeah, and that's kind of exactly what I found when I would go there and hang out. I only found people to be supportive once I actually started hanging out there, because yes, everyone's trying to make it or whatever, or just do the art thing, but they're also, it almost felt like there was less competition on the surface. People were just trying to help each other out all the time, which on the East Coast, it feels very opposite in some regard, where it's everyone's just trying to fuck each other over and step on each other to get to the top, which happens everywhere, But
sure,
the people that I met in LA were very much supportive of each other, and everyone's trying to help each other get to where they wanted to be, which felt really cool. maybe there's more opportunities out there. I don't know, but it just like felt very supportive and really nice.
Yeah, I mean, when Touche started, I wrote a shit ton of songs about how I hate LA, and then I started traveling a bunch, and then I realized like, oh wait, I love LA. I love everything. Everything I love is there. And I really turned my opinion around, and then I, kind of got mad at myself that I had to sing all these songs about how I hate where I'm from, where I'm like, actually, I think I kind of love it now. Thankfully, we've written a bunch of records that I don't have to go back and sing a lot of those songs anymore now. But it's funny how that works, though.
Yeah.
We got ahead a little bit. I'm curious what your first band that recorded was. Was it the first band?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, what was that like?
It was really bad. Having access to recording at an early age was very cool in a lot of ways, but also, pretty embarrassing in a lot of ways too. And I think I have a CD of the earliest recording somewhere. I just need to find it. It was almost, I think we were called the Skulls at the time or something. It was just like fast punk with like yelly vocals.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of drifted into like the ska type stuff with the upstroke guitar. But
how was recording drums for you the first time? Was it stressful?
I think I just loved it. I was obsessed with the fact that I was recording something. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I would just go home and just listen to it nonstop. And I loved it, which is funny now because now I have a weird relationship with the studio now where I'm just I don't really like this. It's stressful. It's annoying. But I'm still excited to be here. It's weird. But as a kid, I would just ate it up. I just loved it so much. I had so much fun doing it. And I think we just did everything live from what I remember. So.
Well, did it come later when you ended up having to track by yourself? Did that?
Yeah.
Was it usually all live recording up until when you got a little older?
Yeah, so in Keene, we linked up with some studio that was in Keene. It was just some really weird dude who was into what we were doing, and he just let us record there for free, and he would just multi-track all of our stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the first time I ever multi-tracked. It was in his studio in New Hampshire, and that was fun too. It was definitely weird. Way different experience, And I remember first hearing that people multi-tracked, and I was like, what? That's so fake. Why would you do that? I was a dumb kid being that's so fake. But now I'm just that, you have to do that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Did you find that, had you played to a click at that point or no?
I don't think I played to a click.
Okay, yeah.
I think he just let me run with it.
Sure.
And then the song ended up being off tempo.
Sure. But sometimes that's what you want. You want to have
totally.
a very genuine sound to it. Doesn't sometimes it's for the best when drummers don't play to a click.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's funny. Were you ever a Strike Anywhere fan?
Oh yeah.
So their record Exit English, I love that record. It's so good. And Touche toured with them in Canada, them and Bane, a really long time ago, 2010 or something.
Whoa, cool.
And I remember once I got warm with the members of Strike Anywhere, I talked to their drummer, Eric, and I was like, let me tell you, the drum sound, the drums on Exit English are they're so good. They sound so perfect and whatever. And I could just see his face kind of change, and he was like, I fucking hate the drums on that record. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's the first time I ever played to a click. And I was like, the song, to him, he's like, these songs feel so slow. So slow to me, because that was my first time ever having to record a record to a click. So he's like, I can't listen to that record. And I'm like, oh man. So it's funny how people, experience things so much different than musicians. But that was one of the first times where I was like, damn, I never would have thought that. Because to me, that record is just hard hitting and it's so good. Did you ever have an experience like that where playing to a click was not what you expected?
I think when I first before Control Top, like years before that recording, I just like couldn't figure it out. I just like couldn't figure out how to play to a click. So I just simply wouldn't in the studio.
Sure.
And I remember like fighting with the engineer, being like, he was like, you have to play this part slower. You have to play this part slower. And I just like, my nerves would kick in and I just like couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like the cool thing with like Control Top now playing to a click is our record is the speed that it is, and then live it's just a couple dB, couple like BPM faster. So it's like, it's fine. It makes sense.
You purposely turn the dB up just a little bit, just so it doesn't feel exactly like the record.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, for that reason. Also, I think the songs just felt slower when you're playing them. The way we wrote our first record was very weird. It was like, just like kind of chaotic and just like somehow like written in the studio. Then after the studio, it was very strange. So we didn't really know the songs when we were recording them. So we didn't really have a feel for them. And this like, it was whatever sounded good in the studio. And then afterwards, we were like, this sounds way too slow, especially for like a live show. So we would just like, pop everything up a couple, and it's kind of just how it went. Yeah.
I've always wondered this. So you play in the Hearst Collective, but I know the Hearst Collective also uses a drum machine a lot. When's the decision come in to where you play or not play?
I have not played a show with them since like 2017.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen the band. Yeah,
it's very funny because people still think of me as the Heroes drummer, but I'm not.
Yeah,
everyone does. I think we only played like 5 shows with me or something.
Oh wow, okay.
But there's like this like strong conception like I'm the drummer of the band.
Yeah,
which I just think is funny.
Yeah.
So. And other people have played drums too a couple of times, but it's almost always just Jenna and Scott with the backing drums. If it was up to me, whether it's me or not, they would always have a drummer. I just think they're a band that are so good, and like who doesn't like to see a live drummer play like fast grind beats,
Yeah.
So, but just like logistically, it just doesn't make sense for them to always have a drummer.
Totally.
But
watching a band play without a drummer is like such a wild kind of like assault on your senses, because you're hearing it and through like PA speakers, like it always just feels so like intense, but then also visually you're kind of confused by it.
Yeah.
You're like, so in a way, it kind of probably adds to the experience a bit, because the band is so hyper aggressive that you're like, oh fuck. So like I could see both sides, it's like, I'm with you. I love seeing especially in that genre of music, watching a drum. Like, to be honest, my brother was always a drummer. And so there's always a drum set in the house. And to this day, like when I go see a band, my eyes are on the drummer almost the entire time. Unless like, crowd's going crazy and there's a lot of big sing-alongy stuff, you can't really not watch that stuff happen. But like, I would never call myself a drummer. I can like do some basic stuff or whatever. But still to this day though, like as soon as the band starts, like my eyes are on the drummer. It's just such a fun instrument to watch someone play.
Yeah, and I think for Hears, like when I first started like learning about them, I don't think I like understood what they were doing at the time. I was just like, what is this? And then I kind of understood it more, and I'm like, okay, it's cool that they don't have a drummer sometimes. Like I get it more now. It makes more sense to me now after like seeing them like 100 times and like just knowing them as people. Yeah. It makes sense. And Jenna's like a really great front person. Like she just like goes wild. They both do, Jenna and Scott.
Right. Yeah.
They just like go wild the whole time. So you almost like forget sometimes they don't have a drummer because they're both so like captivating to watch.
Totally.
And just so loud, like so incredibly loud. But going back to the click track thing and like speeding up, the first show I played with them, I think it was like us and Soul Glow and someone else at a house in Philly. And the joke was that I was playing faster than the songs were on the recordings, because like my nerves, I was so nervous that I was like playing faster than the songs actually were. And like speeding up the like the breakdowns and stuff. I was just like so nervous to play. It was maybe like 4 years ago or something now. So maybe they shouldn't always have a live drummer. That's me, but
I love that.
Yeah, they're great.
You mentioned the band from South Carolina was the first. Was that doing a lot of touring? What was the first band that you toured in?
That was the Scanarchus. When we were 16,
wow.
we went on tour.
That band really lived.
We really lived, yeah.
Yeah.
We lived longer than we should have for many reasons. But, yeah, we did a tour of Pennsylvania. I think we played like 3 or 4 shows, maybe 5, in just like Pennsylvania, like random towns. And that was the first tour we ever did. And then I think we did just like some regional stuff. I think we went out to Kentucky or Ohio. That was like the furthest we ever went. And then my band in New Hampshire, we did a lot of touring up and down the East Coast. But then Rubrics was the first band that like I went out to the West Coast with. We went to Alaska, went to Puerto Rico. We like did like that type of wild stuff that like, you know, was blowing my mind at the time. You know, I was just like, whoa, I never thought I'd be doing any of this stuff.
Did you drive to Alaska or did you fly?
We flew, and it was the weirdest tour ever. Well,
yeah, tell me about it.
As soon as we got there, we like, what happened? We were given this giant, like, Breaking Bad style RV to drive. We went on tour with another band who were just like very strange people, the strangest people to be locked in an RV with for like a week or something. One of them.
So you did like a multiple shows in Alaska.
We played 3 or 4.
Wow. So Anchorage, Juneau.
We played Anchorage, Fairbanks.
And
that was like the best show, like a college town, like made, you know, they paid us really well. And then we played a show that was outside of Anchorage that we had to build the stage out of dirt when we got there. And put
dirt.
We like they had like a bobcat in the backyard. And we're just like piling up dirt and then just put like a plank of wood.
Or something?
Like a plank of wood.
Yeah.
And the house that we played with didn't have any siding or brick. It was just like the Tyvek siding. It was like an unfinished house that people were like living at. I don't know if they were squatting or they owned it or what, but it was like the strangest experience. And I remember we played at like 10 or 11 at night and it was still light out. So like I was playing drums on this mound of dirt, looking at the mountains at 10 o'clock at night, and it was like, you know, bright out.
Yeah.
It was so weird. And we had this like this RV that was falling apart, caught on fire at one point. It broke down, and it was like this like. Looking back, it's all hilarious because we're safe and fine. But like, I was the first person just thrown into the driver's seat of this RV, and they were like, "All right, drive," and I was just like, I have never driven a vehicle this big before. That's like a house. Like I don't know what I'm doing. We drove through like the Denali Mountains, and you know, really intense. And one of the people in the band was like wanted by the FBI or something for like doing something. He was very weird. I don't know if he was even telling the truth about it, but like.
Right.
And then I had other friends who went there after us who someone else did their tour and they had like the best experience, most fun time ever. And we were just like, I was like miserable the whole time because it was just like.
It sounds like your band was like the guinea pigs for it, and then they figured it out. Maybe. Oh man.
It's like one disaster after another, like breaking down and like these giant mosquitoes just eating us alive in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
I'm sure it's one of those things where, in the moment, was so terrible, but you wouldn't probably trade that for the world, just because you've had so many stories that probably came out of that.
Oh yeah, totally. Looking back, I see a picture every once in a while. I'm like, oh my god, that was. Even talking about it now, I'm like, I forget about it because I don't think about it. I'm like, whoa, that was like really wild. And you know, I think things are more fun in hindsight. I'm like, oh, that was so fun, but in the moment, I'm like, I just want to go home.
Right. I feel like most things in life are that way. A lot of, I mean, even like relationships that people have are often that way. You know, people break up and they're like, oh, I miss my person I was with. And you're like, yeah, but you're not thinking about when it was terrible. Yeah.
You only focus on the positive aspects of everything, you know, in hindsight a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. How many of those bands that you did put out records?
My band in New Hampshire put out an LP. Rubrics put out an LP.
What was that feeling like for you? Like the first time getting to like hold like a piece of vinyl?
The coolest thing ever.
What label put out that first record?
Get Better.
Oh, so it was right out the gate you were self-releasing.
Yeah, and the way I paid for it was I had a friend at the college hire me to print T-shirts for the club at the school, and they paid me like just enough money to press a record. So I kind of like used like the school's money to like fund the first record that Get Better did, like on vinyl.
It's a perfect punk label start. You know, it's all about hustling. That's perfect. What pressing plant did you use? Was it like a Rainbow or something? Or
at that time it was Palomino in Kentucky, which ended up. I don't know if you know this, but it was this guy. I can't remember his name. It was like a family business, and the guy who owned it actually died on the job because one of the machines blew up on him.
Oh my God.
And then his son picked up after him, and I think they then mostly focused on maybe mastering. They did something different, but it's called Palomino. It's in like Louisville or Lexington, Kentucky, I think. Like small family-run business, super nice, great customer service. They were really sweet. And then the owner.
That's terrible.
So sad. But anyway.
How was your first experience dealing with a pressing plant? I feel like that's always a bit of a, when you're unfamiliar with the territory, it's a little stressful because you're probably being asked a lot of questions you've never dealt with before. Yeah. It's a lot that goes into it. Do you remember anything about it?
I remember just being on the phone with them all the time. I think like, what year was it? Probably 2012 or 11 or 12. I remember just like always having to call him up. And just like, we were always talking about something. I don't remember what. I don't remember being like that stressful. I think it actually got stressful later on. Like now it's almost like more stressful dealing with it than it was back then. Because I just like, was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to like call this dude up and tell him what I want.
Right.
But yeah, definitely like a new experience that I hadn't done before. So it was like definitely a learning curve about like what kind of files you need. Like vinyl masters. What's that? Like all the templates for the jackets and the insert and all that. And I think actually I screen printed all the record covers at the time.
Okay.
So I think they just sent us vinyl, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
As I was thinking of different label questions to ask. One of especially like pressing records and stuff. And one of the things I thought of was like, wonder what to ask a label person, like what a first learning experience was with like whether it's like pressing records or working with a distribution company or something where you're like, wow, I'm glad I maybe got that lesson out of the way. Yeah. Because now I know how to going forward.
So our first distributor was Traffic Entertainment, which is like a very, very small company in like near Boston. And it was very hands off. I remember like being like, what is a one sheet? I don't know what this is. Like I have to put the cover art and describe what the record is about. It was like was so confusing to me, and I am not like very good with the computer and like technology stuff. So I was just like had so much trouble like formatting it and everything. And we weren't with them very long, and then we went to Death Wish, and they did all of our distribution, just like handled all of the paperwork for us. Like we never once talked to anyone at the Orchard who's their distributor. But now last year we switched to Red Eye, so we like have our own distribution deal and all that stuff. And it's almost been like a relearning curve over the pandemic. That's like kind of what we've been focusing on. It's just like our own distributor and like relearning how to make a one sheet, which as recently as a year ago, and like putting all that together and perfecting it and trying to just like. I feel like I'm learning. Yeah, I do something new fairly often. Trying something new, just like always trying to like figure out how to do something better and more efficient than I was doing before.
Right. And for people listening, if you're wondering what a one sheet is, basically, so like I worked at a record store for a number of years, so I would get sent all these one sheets from from our distributor. Basically, it's basically like a one-page sales pitch for like why you should stock this record in your store. So it's like, and they feel kind of pointless, you know? Like I never once got a one sheet and read the whole thing and was like, yep, ordering 30 copies of this. You know, it's like, it's a lot of most record store people, I feel like a part of the reason they're there is because they feel like they know everything already. So it's like, you know, oh, I know this record label. I trust this record label. Yeah, I mean, I'll take 10 copies of that just because I trust this record label, you know, but
yeah,
it's an interesting thing. It almost feels a little archaic at this point, having this like sale. Basically, it's like, yeah, it's like the album cover, a couple bullet points about the record, you know, like some like, ooh, produced by so-and-so or whatever. And then, yeah, like a brief synopsis of what the album is about. And maybe it serves a purpose to like older generation record stores or something like that. But they're always stressful to put together. I'm with you, you know, where it's like, do we really need this? But I guess we do.
Yeah, and it's like also so important because if you like don't hand in the one sheet at the right time, you could miss the street date and have to push it back an entire week.
Oh, right.
And it's like it feels so archaic too because yeah, you're right. It's too like an older It's like, you know, serving an older generation, and then I find myself entering like, this is how many TikTok followers they have, and it's just like, what is happening? Like,
yeah,
does some like 40-year-old record store person care how many TikTok followers this band has? Maybe they do, but maybe they don't. They probably don't.
Right. Yeah. No, that's definitely super interesting. Oh well, I mean, I feel like there's like a billion questions I could probably go down with between music, or I'm sorry, between record labels and all that sort of stuff. But I won't keep you all day. So the last question I like to ask everybody is, do you remember the first time you felt like you were doing the thing that you had been working so hard towards? Whether it's label or band or both or whatever.
The honest answer is that I feel like I'm always in motion, that I don't often process what I'm doing until like way later. Like I feel like I'm always like unaware of what's going on. I'm just like so focused on the task at hand that I don't know if I've ever had that moment, or maybe that moment hasn't happened yet. The only thing I can really think of is like over the pandemic, I was just like, the only thing I was doing was working on the label. I wasn't like touring, wasn't doing anything else. So I was just kind of like, this is kind of what I always wanted to do. You know, obviously I love touring and playing in bands, but I was like, this feels really cool that my full-time job right now is just putting out records and focusing on the label. And that felt really good. And I brought on like a couple of people to work at the label over the pandemic, which also felt like this moment where I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing. And also other people are doing it with me. This is like the dream right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Koji works with you now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We pretty much do everything together with the label now, two of us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have not seen Koji in a really long time. Is Koji in Philly?
They are, but they're actually in LA right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but they moved to Philly in like May, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying with like, you know, you've had this whole year to just like focus on the label, and a part of, I think, doing a label is like, it's just so much consistent work till you're always either having to talk to an artist about deadlines or getting something done, or your own personal deadlines for getting things turned in on time, or all these sorts of things, or you're having probably a lot of Zoom calls and just all sorts of stuff, to where it almost kind of creates the inability to celebrate when something happens, which is kind of a drag in a way, where you're like I need to be happy that this thing happened and this thing maybe came out and there was no issues with it, and like, let's celebrate that today. But it's sometimes hard because the moment you might be celebrating that is you're also having to maybe put out a fire that's happening over here. So I think for you and I, we both need to maybe take a step back sometimes and be like, let's just be proud of something for a second. Because maybe that moment has hit you, but you haven't had the opportunity to, like I said, like celebrate it, because, you know, this business is a lot of putting out fires and a lot of stresses.
Yeah, and just like finishing one task and immediately being like, okay, this record came out today, but this one comes out in 2 weeks. Like, time to like, you almost like your brain immediately has to switch to being like, okay, that's out, what's next? And it's just this constant cycle. But yeah, you're right. It's so important, just like stop and like be like, whoa, we did this thing, it was great, no problems happened, you know.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some issue with something, always, but like,
Right.
you know, it's important to really celebrate those things, because otherwise you're just, you know, your head's just down the whole time, and like, what's the point if you're just like not even enjoying it? Not that I don't enjoy it, I do, but like,
Yeah.
you know, perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love what your label does. I think you all do such a great job of putting out younger bands. You know, the